You'll see that pop up on your screen here in a second. We'll probably see a lot of people watching the recording on this one. As we were just speaking to, there's several competing calls happening right now, which means we're just going to have a nice, small, intimate group on the call for today. But I'm super excited. I should have my screen shared, but super excited to have Brett on the line today to talk about influencing behavior. So Brett, the floor is yours. Take it away.
All righty. Hello, everybody. Looks like we have a good little crowd actually for a lot of competing calls. Looking at the list here. Happy to have everybody. Thanks for joining. Today we're going to talk about influence behavior. And my name's Brett. Someone there? So influencing behavior. Again, my name is Brett Skian. I'm the market director for Ryan Bailey's Market. And so I guess we'll get started here with our group. Click this slide. There we go. All righty. All right. So employees are responsible for their own behavior, but you as a manager are responsible for the performance of your employees. Your goal is to maximize every employee's potential and keep performance levels high. You've learned the importance of establishing credibility. How you use it to influence others is very critical. The single most important thing you can do is to lead by example. Most employees want to do a good job, but it's up to you to make it happen. To earn your employees' respect, set high but achievable goals and standards, be clear with your expectations, strive for consistency, and show passion and enthusiasm in everything you do. When your employees feel valued, they'll look to you for guidance. Your goal is to be a leader people want to follow. This is eye-opening. So, did you know, in a survey conducted by the National Association of Manufacturers, 2/3 of their 14,000 members said that employee deficiencies in soft skills such as timeliness, attendance, and general work ethic have hurt their productivity and guest relations. 2/3 of 14,000. It's crazy. Oh. So next we're going to talk about how we put that influencing behavior in action. So there's a little quote from a gentleman named Hal Pitt. One moment spent sharing a good word can translate into hours of high productivity. I think we find that a lot. I think we'll talk about the rewarding influencing a little bit. Some of those good words we talked about at the HR show the other day is even just the please and thank yous that we kind of miss sometimes can be really valuable to your teams and how you influence them. Move up there. All right, so being part of being an effective leader is having the ability to positively influence behaviors. You're in a position to do so, and it's important to identify how to best influence your team members. There are 5 different types of influential power. There's reward power, influence behaviors based on rewards; coercive power, influence behaviors based on punishment; legitimate power, when you influence behaviors based on position, like being a team leader versus a team member. There's expert power, which is influencing behaviors based on the subject's belief in you and that you possess superior knowledge of the ability. There's referent power, and that's when you influence behaviors because the subject identifies with you or looks up to you, almost like a mentorship there. Chances that you've already utilized at least one of the above mentioned when influencing others. Rewarding high-performing employees with better shifts or respectfully offering advice on how to better handle a situation given your experience. Each method of influence has their strengths and weaknesses and can work actually for you or sometimes against you. Sometimes when you get a minute, watch someone in a powerful position and ask yourself, how do they influence others and what is the outcome? All right, so complete this thought to yourself. Take a moment to think of yourself and complete the thought. The best way to influence me is I like to be rewarded by, and my team members are best influenced by. Take some mental notes on those and put them in action in your everyday world. The way you're influenced kind of will drive how you influence other people, and you're going to cater yourself to how your individual team members are influenced as well. Mary?
I think there's a little delay on my end. It's coming your way, Brett.
No problem. So Wednesday, we're going to talk about how we can influence behavior. All right. So another quote here from Abraham Lincoln: nearly all men can stand adversity, but if you want to test a man's character, give him power. well, I think we've all heard a version of this. It's how people react to power, or how people react to the ability to be able to influence people. It says a lot about somebody. So next we're going to talk about different ways that you can influence behavior. There's positive reinforcement. In this one, a behavior is strengthened by the consequence of experience a positive condition, such as when I arrive at work on time, I receive better shifts. We've all kind of been through that one. Negative reinforcement is when a behavior is strengthened by the consequence of stopping or avoiding a negative condition, such as when I'm a great team player, I am no longer required to scrape dishes or something else that I hate to do. And there's punishment. In punishment, a behavior is weakened by the consequence of experiencing a negative condition. When I break a company policy, I'm reprimanded or terminated. It's a pretty familiar one. And then extinction, the last one. An extinction of behavior is weakened by the consequences of not experiencing a positive condition or stopping a negative condition. So when I tell them an inappropriate joke, they are ignored. So I'm going to stop telling them. So something along those lines. All right. So here's some tips on your ability to improve your ability to influence others. You want to observe others in your organization that are highly influential and try out some of their techniques that fit your style, things that will work for you. You want to seek assignments that require you to lead. If you let others take the lead in meetings, be the first person to speak up at the next one. Be proactive and show interest in your employees. If they know you care about their development, they will work harder for you. Don't back down too quickly when challenged. Know when to stand your ground. And then when proposing a new idea, run it by those you think will be most resistant to it first, and see how they feel about it. Getting their buy-in first will make it easier for you to sell it to that kind of maybe more difficult group. Learn to notice the visual clues when your point is not being received well, and be ready to redirect your approach. Know your audience. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. And then build a great reputation with your team. If you build the rapport and the reputation with your team, it'll be easier to influence them. They'll want to follow you. They'll be more bought into you. This one's pretty easy. Get people to like you. If they don't, you'll never be that influential. Right. And so talk about knowing your audience. When you're trying to influence somebody, or when you're trying to lead, or some of the reactions you get from your team or your managers, maybe these are some good cues of some signals that maybe you're losing, maybe you're not getting through them. We're giving direction to a team member or to a subordinate. They may become confused as to what you're asking or describing. Experts say the following are signals that someone is confused and not understanding your directions. When they're avoiding eye contact is always a good one. When they're squinting their eyes, or they tilt their head like the little doggy in the picture here. Lowering their eyebrows, or closing their mouth and keeping it closed. And then there's always the kind of the crossed arms and legs to kind of the shutdown there. Someone's not muted out there. So those are all ways that sometimes you can shut your team down, or they can show you that we're shutting down. So we'll recap here. This is Dan Ryland. How can you have charisma? Be more concerned about making others feel good about themselves than you are about making them feel good about you. I think is a really, really powerful one there. So next, we're going to talk about a goal for the week. Your goal for the week is going to be, this week I will work on building relationships with team members of the team I don't know as well. Understand that this will make me a more persuasive manager. I will seek out a discussion with someone I feel is particularly persuasive to obtain insight on how they do it so well. I will assert myself in a positive and articulate manner, whether in a manager meeting, an interaction with an employee, or in just a conversation with a guest maybe. And then reading suggestion here is Getting Them to Give a Damn by Eric Chester. It's a book that Mary can help you find, or you can get that on Amazon. And then we'll wrap up if anybody has any questions.
Yeah, thank you, Brett. I actually want to go back to this slide here, the tips to improve your ability to influence others. Because I know reading through this one, and to share a little bit about myself, I actually find that being the first person to speak up really helps me personally. I was always the person who would let everyone else run the conversation, or especially like on calls. Unless I was called on, I would never unmute and share anything. But I found that if I was the first person to speak up and say something, that I would be more comfortable continuing to speak after that. And it doesn't sound like that big of a deal, but honestly, that was I don't want to say life changing, so that sounds a little bit dramatic, but it really shifted quite a bit for me and how how I was able to approach some really difficult discussions or really engaging conversations and whatnot. So I'm just curious. I've got the list back up here on the screen, but does anyone else have anything to share like that? A tip that really works well for you, or something that you really want to try and see if that gives you an edge in your next conversation?
I'll go first, Barry. I mean, the one that sticks out to me is the being proactive and showing interest. For me, when you be proactive and show interest in other people's interests, I think that's a good way or show that whatever you're getting into, you're really into it, you're really bought into it. I think is always a good one for me.
I like
Who
that.
else?
I mean, people like people who like them, so that's a great one.
Who else?
Does
Anybody else out there
anyone
want to
else?
unmute? Anyone want to chime in? Anybody want to be the first one, like Mary said? Nobody? Come on, we got one person out there. Somebody.
How to get myself unmuted, sorry. This is Megan at Bridgeport. The one that I really like is don't back down too quickly, and like a positive and a negative way in that sense. So a negative way could be like if a table is giving a server a hard time, don't just gravitate towards siding with one person, but see both sides of it, because you'll gain the respect of the guest and the server. But then in a positive way too, not backing down too quickly in an orientation of not double checking with somebody if they are comfortable, if they know where everything is, if they know who their trainer is. There's just so many different times where just having people's back and being there for them and listening and understanding and not just assuming that they get it has really helped me out a lot. So
Good. Thank you for sharing. I think that's
I'll
great.
go.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, this is Amy. I think a lot of times, especially in our roles, the run a new idea by those resistant to change are key players. We have initiatives that we bring on, new programs, new menus, and as OPs and managers and chefs, like we have to really embrace those ideas, whether we're 100% for them. We really just have to take the emotion out of it and then just lead with influence, get the material out there and get everybody on board so that there is an alignment of thinking and that everybody moves forward together.
Awesome. Thank you, Amy. It's great. Completely agree. Sometimes you have that, whether it be your team members or maybe it's that one manager that's you're always kind of having a hard time getting it through. Getting their temperature on it first is always a great one.
Yeah, they're not all good ideas, but
No, they are not. They definitely are not. Well, thank you, Amy. We got time. This is a pretty quick call. I know I was kind of talk kind of fast, but does anybody else want to jump in? We're here to hear from you. Is Nick still on? No, he's on. Nick left. I was going to call on Nick. Anybody? One more?
Lenny, I'm still here. I think one of the things I like to do, and I think has helped me even as a student when I was in high school and even in college, is seek assignments. I'm overeager to help, sometimes to a fault, and I think that helps me kind of sometimes win people over, but also take me out of my comfort zone. Because I'm not necessarily given things when I seek assignments like, oh, I'll help with whatever you need. And then whatever you need isn't something that I'm necessarily comfortable with. But I think it does help me to gain influence, as a leader and even as a subordinate. I think that has helped me throughout my career. And like I said, even as a student.
Yeah, I think that's another great one. I think sometimes we look at seeking assignments as a way we develop ourselves, which it obviously is. But I think we underestimate how people see you from that point. People see that you're willing to take these things on and really admire and look up to that and kind of buy into that way. I think that's a great one too. Thank you, Lenny.
Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for sharing on the call today. Brett, I know it was a little bit shorter of one, but honestly, with how jam-packed all of our calendars are with
Right, yeah, it's
calls,
easy.
it
I
might be
can almost
nice.
get back on the workday call now.
Yeah, shoot, we can wrap up the last of the retention manager call. But no, really, thank you, Brett. Great topic. And, as our role as leaders is truly to develop and influence our team members, we can't run those restaurants alone. We need to influence our team to do it and do it well. So taking away from this, the tips that are going to help you be more comfortable as an influencer and just more effective in your role, I think is the biggest takeaway from today. But thank you, Brett. Great content as always. And thank you all for part of your Monday afternoon. And hope you guys have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.
Thanks, Brett.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks for
you.
participating,
Thank you.
ladies.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Everybody have a great one. Take care.
Bye bye. So cute.
Bye.